Hello, hi. So I am recording my module of human factors 2. I'll just talk about what has been done and what we have learned in this module, along with the interesting framework we have covered in the last few assignment of our module. So I'm just giving you a brief introduction in starting. You can skip that part. How has the course has been planned and what we have done. And in the second part, I'll be talking about how to use that frameworks, especially the 7-step disco analysis framework. And the second one is this one, mental model. What is mental model and how to frame a mental model and how to use it. So yeah, let's start with this course abstract we always get in an ID before starting any module. So it's a human factors 2 module, whereas human factors 1 module was done in semester 2. In that we have learned about the physical products, how the economic effect for the physical products, how people will behave when they are using the physical product or the tangible products, and also the space. And in this module, in this semester, human factors 2, we have learned more on towards cognitive ergonomics, like how mentally user will perceive the information, how he will do the task, and how he'll perform the certain flow of the task. So this is more towards cognitive load and human brain neuroscience, all of these things. So this was like 4 weeks course, and just give you brief information what we have learned in the SK. We have learned to understand human mental processing aspects when they are using any digital product or when they are using any analog product. Also, we'll also understand like what is basic task analysis technique. Basically, whenever a user is doing some task or performing certain task, he will do certain amounts of steps, and while performing those steps, how what he's feeling and what is happening, how can we map that and how can we analyze it? That is most important. So when you analyze something and see that where the things are happening, where the things are lagging, how can I improve it, that's the best way forward before designing any product. So yeah, or improving any product, not designing, yeah, improving any product, current existing task flow. So yeah, and then we also learn about what is stimulus, visual attention, perception, reliability, human error, and decision making. And in the last, yeah, methodology was again reading lectures, case studies, all those things. And these are some certain list of reference material. You can go through it. I can share you this abstract and the reference material. But because we have very good faculty, Mrs. Niju Dubey and Ravi Shankar, they have read all of these things and all of the lot of papers. They are in design institute for 20 years and they have done a lot of things towards this. So they have made a very fantastic frameworks and the models that we can use it and perform better instead of going through all of this books. So this course was very much kind of gold thing for us, where we don't have to read a lot of books and all. We always can do, but yeah, using their frameworks and some developed techniques and tools, we can easily get where I want to go. Sorry. Yeah. So starting, this was the course abstract. Now I'll show you some of my notes from the class. So we started with the cognitive, what is cognitive behavior and all of those things. But I have already, that's not something which is new. So I'll just talk you about this thing. Just go through this 10 principle of cognitive design, which you will find on this website called AlgoWeb. Just read through it. You will understand what are the principles to apply for your cognitive ergonomics. For example, standardization. So humans are standardized or familiarized with the way how to switch on the tap and switch off the tap, clockwise and anti-clockwise. But when you reverse it, they might get confused. So whenever you are like using your product, try to use a standardized process which the person already knew from their previous mental model or the behavior. So just go through it. It's very interesting. I will not cover this part in this video. So yeah. And next, again, you might know the usability heuristic that is also covered in this course. And then we have one visiting professor from Nimhans. Dr. Keshav Kumar, he's doing his PhD and he also currently a professor of neuroscience in NMHans, and he went to like how our memory works, what is cognition, what is intuition. That was very interesting session with him. So we looked inside our brain, what is attention, cognitive load inside a bed using the machines we put on head. Yeah, so just going ahead. Next, we have talked about neuroergonomics models, and which something which is very interesting happened in the last course, like last module, last week basically, which was like need to talk about conceptual leap. So this will I will cover when I'm talking about the mental model. So just keep it in mind. So let's go ahead and start with our assignments. So we have got three assignment in it in this course. So first assignment was to take any product and look for the cognitive lows, stress point of that product, how the user will interact, how the user is interacting, and where he's getting confused. So I took helmet as a product, and I measured the task flow, simple task flow illustration for that, and I also mapped what are the touch points, what are the interaction he did with that. So by doing this, we got certain kind of mode where we can do the bigger projects or be the bigger task analysis. So this was very good exercise or the assignment we started with. Then the second assignment was more towards space products which are tangible, and the third assignment is on digital products like apps, website, or anything which is related to intangible products. So just focus on this second assignment where all of our group or batchmates were given different tasks. Like someone got elevators. They went through the step analysis and task analysis for the elevators, and they applied 7 disc cognitive analysis principle and the framework. And I got sugar testing device, blood glucose testing device, right? And I will just give you what we did and how we did. So I like map how people are using it. I interviewed some people, all of those things. So let's start with here. So when you Acha, let me tell you the very much important part over here. 7-step disco flow cognitive analysis, what this chart is all about and how to use it. Okay. Yeah, so this looks like this. The chart is in Excel sheet. You designers might got frustrated while looking at the Excel sheets, but this is very good to start with. This makes your task very much easier. So if you look at this Excel sheet, you will have 4 sheets inside this thing, and the first one is start with the task flow illustration, which is basically anyways like any task you are doing, it will have some steps you can have to illustrate over here. That will give you starting point of analyzing any certain task. Second one is again the same task in interaction flow over here, but we are mapping some cognitive elements over here, like the cognitive mental process. Then the next column is display control elements of that certain task, where what has been done over that. And then we are mapping the stress point, touch points, ease and comfort, closure quantity, and in the last, what to be considered while doing this task. I'll just go give you some examples so you will understand better. And the next sheet is the display control layout, where we will talk about Gestalt principle and is the app or is that device or the product is following hierarchy, contrast, balance, emphasis, all of these principles, right or not. We have to analyze that, because these are certain things which will change the user task, how he is performing, and it will affect their mood and it will affect their flow of working. And then in the last of the sheet is the synthesis of the study, like what to consider. After analyzing this, we will put some pointers over here so that designers will take up this and start designing products. So after this, the design brief will start, which the design will take up. So this is very good analysis framework. Give you the example of mine. I have been given this like glucose measuring device. So I started with mapping the task in the task flow, how the task has been performed. Like first task was like to open the box and then putting out the parts from it. Second was preparing the lens and needle in it, and then inserting the national needle into the lensing tool, then pricking the finger and pulling out the blood, and then putting that strip into the machine. All the task is mapped like a illustration over here using the simple flow chart, as we all know. Okay. and that you can also do visually, like you can take pictures of each step and like analyze that. And to map that, you have to come to this Excel sheet, okay, where you can see the first task flow illustration over here. Here's the flow chart. This is very much necessary. And second is, you can show it in a visual form also, and you can map which step have the stress and attention. Okay, now let's go to the second sheet of this Excel sheet. Here, this sheet might look overwhelming in start, but it's very easy. So when you see here, it start like brief discussion about the user. So in cognitive ergonomics, just don't look at this for now. In cognitive ergonomics, we talk about some certain set of user. We are not talking about everyone, but we take user as an artifact for this framework. What does it mean is, when you are targeting one user and mapping his task into flow for performing certain tasks, we are talking about a lot of different kind of user in the same mindset. Okay, so that's why we are calling it as artifacts, and it will give you a very strong starting point where we are not talking about 10 users, but finding someone which is common and which will represent a lot of users. Okay, so looking for the user first is the main task. So start with a brief discussion about the user, where like just give introduction, like in my case, the adult is 22 to 30 years old, and he understands in English and he can write English. So that's for the basic brief introduction. You can also talk about the demographic, like where he lives, in urban city or in the rural area, all those things. And the brief discussion about the user operational environment. Why operational environment is added here? Because when you perform certain task or you are doing something and your environment changes, the way you behaving or the way you perform the task also changes. The efficiency might change, the stress level might different variate. So for example, if you are using your phone inside your comfortable room versus you are using your phone when you are on trek or a hike or in a crowded place like a metro station, or in a hurry. So where you are, where the user is, that lot about how he's going to perform the task and interact with your device or the app. So give the context, like building a context and giving operational environment is very much important. And when you look down, you will see there's again a task flow interaction. It is the same like this, where we have illustrated over here, but now we will write that into like text format, like what was the first step, what is the second step, what is the third step, what is the fourth step, and what is the last step, like to perform a certain task, what are the step needed. And again you can see in the major task there is subtask. So for example, unboxing tasks of the box, of the device box, the user will hold the box first, he will check the opening, he might read the instruction, he will see the color, where to open, all of these signifiers he will see, and then we will map that certain task. Yeah, so we were here in second column, and where we are, like when you see this, this cognitive mental process, there are some attributes given in the brackets. So either of it is used in that certain task that you have to write, like while opening the box, what are the attributes were required. So attention was required, language comprehensible was required, and then display control elements, like again here at that stage that steps have, that certain task has, what are the display control units or the elements were there, like the buttons, icon, knobs, switches, levers, pads, whatever. Like here it was box, so that was a display control in the box, information given on that. And then the stress level mapping, like when you are observing that user performing the certain task, you can that time only map out this quantitatively, it was stressful or it was highly stressful. So this has been given from 0 to 5. If there is no stress, you can just give 0. If it's getting anxiety, you can accordingly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 you can give. And next is error touch point notification, if any. So again here chance of error, like while performing the task, if there is chance of error or not. If there's, just you can map it out like 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, there is a chance of error. I'll give you a better example in the next assignment. I'll show you. And in that, ease of comfort was there or not. And then in the last, closer quality, which will be in like in text form, like it was seamless completion or attention was required, anxiety was there, unsuccessful, like you have to write that some quantifying, like qualitative text over here, and the design consideration or the pointers which you with, like you're not solving over here in the last column, but you are giving some consideration that the designer will take from here, and he will design or correct the flow or the task flow. Yeah, and according to that you can also map out color, like you can give red 5, you can give red to more stress point, like 5. You can give green to easy one, so green, yellow and red you can map. So while you zooming out, you see wherever there's a red is too much, so that task flow and that area need to be cater first. It's very much crucial, like that the user is getting too much overwhelmed or not able to perform it, so you have to start from here, like that's a crucial point. Yeah, so next is display control layout sheet over here, and in that you can talk about if the product has contrast, balance, how it is given, the layout is how the layout is behaving when the user is looking at it. All of this you can talk about, because this will also lead to cognitive load of the user when he is looking at the product. So here in this case it was a physical device, so we have mapped out that thing. And in the last sheet, synthesis of the study, where after performing the analysis you can come up with some pointers and the list that these are things needs to be taken care before designing the product. Okay, so this was the for the physical product. I will give you a second example, that is for the app. So I'm in digital product. How this will, again the same task analysis framework will apply to digital product. So in my case, I took a scenario where like user is booking a cab or auto rickshaw. Okay, and our starting initial brief was to cater towards elderly. So I chose a user. I found it the user who is a shopkeeper, a small shopkeeper. He knows Kannada. He can read English, but he's not that much familiar. He doesn't have that much of digital literacy in his life. So, and you build up a scenario where he has to book a cab and how he's feeling that time, and this will also help to map user model later on. So yeah, the context scenario building is required for the first step. Then you should have some kind of question asked, which is crucial, and then you do the task flow analysis and insights. Then you can map the mental model. I'll talk you about mental modeling later on. So yeah, if you see this PPT, the next slide is user environment, where he is using the app. So I went to his shop, and he was booking the cab in front of me, and I was observing it and analyzing it at the same time to record the process and put that into my 7-step disco framework. So if you see, this image board is very much required, because this will talk a lot about the user mental model, how he lives and how he thinks, and that user model will help the user, like he will see that world as what his mental model is. Whatever he is looking at, whatever he is doing in his life, he will look, because he will have some kind of some mental model made up, and he will try to see the world in that view, right? So this is very much required. Like you can see the details. He's kind of jugaad person, like he solves the issues by his own, and he's a low tech guy. And whenever he's not in the shop, he tries to put someone over here so that business will run. So he's very much business oriented person. He don't want losses. He's very calculative. All those things. So this will come again in the mental model framework, which I will tell you. Next, some of the crucial question asked. So don't ask the basic question. You can ask the one which is required towards the task and he's going to perform. So in this case, we have asked question about what he will do to book a cab, what he will do when he needs a certain taxi or a ride. So he told that he is mostly dependent on his daughter, but when she is not there, he has to use a app, Ola, Uber. He knows all these apps, but he avoids to use apps because it is very much overwhelming for him and is not so clear. And out of these apps, he uses Rapido because he knows from his neighborhood or his daughter that this gives a fair price compared to other apps. That's why he's using Rapido. So we did a task analysis for a Rapido app. and I'll show you how we did that you can also use for your app or the website. So again, it will start with the user flow and start with a brief description about the user. What is his age, what he's doing, what language he knows, and then brief discussion of the operational environment where he is booking the cab. That operation, like that is also required. You should put that thing. And then again, same thing which we did for the blood sugar testing device, that you have to like map out the major task linked with the subtask required. For here example, opening the app. Okay, so he will find the app, then he will click the app, then what happens when the app opens on the dashboard. So these are the subtasks for the opening the app. Okay, and in each steps, what was those cognitive mental process or the element was used. So finding an app will require memory. So he has to recall that there's a Rapido app. So you can see the Rapido they have written Rapido text in it also. So it's very easy to recall, and it also has a good contrast. So here memory has been used in this certain task, and you can map out what was the stress point. It was like we have given 1 as a stress because again he has to like give some stress to find that certain app. Error touch point 1 was because if like the tab is big and he's clicking the app, he might accidentally click the other app. So stress point is given 1, error touch point given 1. Ease of comfort was 5. It was easy for him. He was easily opening the app, clicking the icon. So yeah, this should be like green or something. Yeah. So again, the subtask, similarly for each skill and each task you can map like that. Okay, searching destination, language comprehension, and also if you see in Rapido, when you are like booking it, before confirming they give some kind of animation where the price is going down, and the user got so much anxious at that time. He was so much anxious ki what is happening, ye khatam kyun ho raha hai, kya karna hai iska, something like that, and it gives the uncertainty to him. So that's why there was the stress point was 5. Okay, there was a lot of anxiety and uncertainty, and what to be done. Okay, design consideration, here we have given like the button getting discolored creates anxiety. We just talk about what is happening in that certain task, so that this is the consideration pointer the designer will took from here. So similarly, you just map out the full task flow analysis till the cancelling a ride or booking a ride, right? And that will lead you to come up with some kind of insights and the findings, and also the pain point and frustrations. Okay, so this is how you use the task flow analysis. And when you see the color mapping, again, wherever there's too much of red happening, that certain task step needs to be considered first. So yeah, you can use that thing. That's the whole 7-step DISCO task flow cognitive analysis. Now I will briefly talk about the mental model. What is that? So our professor also come up with something called mapping a mental model framework, user mental model framework. And this is again the next part of task flow analysis. So what is this? So basically any user have their own mental ability or mental framework built up in this mind, and we will map that thing, and we'll see at the end of the story how to resolve it, what are the things to be resolved. So how to use this framework, right? So basically in this framework, again, it's basically a chart paper of all the studies over like in one size format. So if I'll give you the example, the same guy, the user model, where you will talk about the demographic of the person, user knowledge, the basic what he knows already, like recycling old clothes, recycling old boxes. He's a guy who's used devices from 80s. All of this user know, like the knowledge he have, and the skills, like what skills he knows. He does basic electronics. He can repair his scooter sometime. He use calculator. That's a skill. Then you should put the ability also. Whatever things he can use, what he's able to do. And then environment, where he spend most of the time, where he is using the task, where he using the product. Mood, what kind of mood he is always in. So you map this thing as a user variables in the first column. Then if you're getting some metaphor, like here he was saying, or analogy, he was saying कि नहीं भैया पहले आप ऐड देख लो, जो कि रैपिडो में होता है। व्हेन यू बुकिंग कैब वो बीच में ऐसे ऐड आता है फायदा कि हाँ राखी का ऐड आ गया, कुछ का ऐड आ गया. So kind of, if you have some scenario metaphor, you can put that. And then here you will talk about your understanding of the user, what you understand from talking to him and observing him. Okay. And then task flow same is coming from the, what is this happening? Yeah, it's coming from the same task flow illustration, each steps, but in a major, we are not talking about the subtask, but only taking the major task, launching the app, land on the home screen, into destination, all those major steps. And while performing those steps, what was the cognitive stress or the error? Just write that only. So again, it's coming from the Excel sheet, but in a very brief format. Okay. And then resolve of the clarity, what you have to do, what it's not a solution, but yeah, what the pointers need to be considered for resolve. And then you can find a link between, like, the same problem is happening here and it's linking to this thing. You can map those things, and this is called mental model framework. Yeah. So that's all. Like, yeah, from here you will have an idea that what should I do with my product and how to improve it, and which are the certain area where you have to be improved. So yeah, that's all about it. It was very interesting. Try to follow this, and if you have any queries or the comments, you can always reach out to me. I'll be happy to help you. Yeah. Thank you.